In joining Activism Truth, you will help join the long-term goal of having permanent ballot access, where we have enough people joined that we have a critical mass, we can put any initiative on the ballot almost effortlessly using the resources of internet and technologies to connect like-minded people. So please join all the groups promoting the best initiatives across the nation and supporting ballot access around the world. Here you can see the actual text of the legislation for a new investigation. This text has been carefully drafted so that when it is put on the ballot and the voters approve it, it cannot be rejected by the courts. It calls for an independent investigation with a citizens' commission. It's very important you understand the implications of legislation like this and how it could be put on the ballot in any state or city that has ballot initiative rights. Furthermore, 6 states in the nation have the right to citizen grand jury, and it's important that people in those states also seek for organization of like-minded individuals so that they can have the ability to call for a citizens grand jury to have a true investigation on the crimes committed on 9/11. Please be a part of this historic campaign.
The greatest challenge we face that's keeping us from achieving the goals we need for society is simply that the majority of people don't know what ballot access is. We must wake up mass amounts of sleeping people. Even many in the Patriot movement are unaware that they have the ability to supersede their government and fix the problems the government has created. This film is about waking you up so you'll wake up others. 70% of the U.S. population lives in areas that have ballot access. It's time we utilize this ability. If less than 1% of the population wake up and use this strategy, we will create a revolution.
This is the website for Activism Truth, the site I created to help consolidate information for people looking to get involved. I am working on a national news archives with information about ballot initiatives, attacks to the process, and initiatives that are filed. And I'm looking for writers who will assist in supporting the creation of articles for this news archive. Also, I have a very detailed About Us section with information about the ideas behind this organization, problems, solutions, and strategies. I also have a state archive that's just getting started. I look forward to adding many more states. As you can see, I've only added Florida so far. This is a very detailed process. I have to add a lot of information about each state's rules and regulations. And I need more people to investigate their state's initiative rights so that they can help provide information for this map, which will be an incredible resource. I also have links to other groups and organizations around the country and the world that are promoting ballot access. And the goal is to eventually create a training system to teach people how to become very effective petition circulators, and also to network and organize people through the internet so that we can combine our powers, our ability to use technology, and bring direct democracy into the 21st century. Finally, I will promote ballot initiative circulation opportunities when there are paid initiative drives for initiatives that I support that are in fact going to help protect the people and the Constitution. So if you're interested in being a part of the ballot access solution, join the network that I've started with the Thrive organization. You may have seen the movie Thrive. They are allowing people to create organizations all around the world. So if you have an issue that you're concerned with, you can join my group and even create your own group, and we can help together organize people for ballot access. It allows you to have a forum, people can join, and you can have a lot of fun talking with people and even make real progress at creating the solutions.
People have tried writing their congressmen, protesting. The whole Occupy movement started out with a lot of momentum, but was quickly crushed by authoritarian government. The people at the bottom of the pyramid realize they're getting screwed by the top. There's only two ways to fix things in our society. Either legislation is made by the politicians or by the people under the legal means, the ballot initiative
This is what it's
process.
going to take. There's only two venues to bring about change. One is the government, where the problem exists because of the structure of representative government, and the other is the people. The people can directly make laws and set policies.
What is Citizens in Charge all about? Well, we believe that every American has a right to have a say in his or her government. They not only have a voice, they ought to have a vote, a decision-making presence in the political process. And the best way to do that is through initiative and referendum and recall.
This is recalltherogues.org, a state-by-state guide to show you the importance of the recall process and how we can utilize it. This site talks about the importance of the recall process and how people can unite our efforts to utilize this power to our full advantage. We have the opportunity to kick politicians out of office before their terms expire. It's about time we start organizing to do so. It's going to require a brand new organization to force the recall process onto the ballot, encouraging real solutions to come forward and better candidates to run for office. Many states have the recall process. Some states do not have the recall process. We need to strengthen our weaknesses and work with our strengths. The initiative process can empower states without the recall process to regain future rights.
Now, we like having legislatures. Americans don't want to spend all day, every day deciding governmental issues. We have lives and jobs and families and many things to do. But we want to have control over our government. We want it to be citizen controlled. That's the whole promise of America, and one of the best ways to have a check on government gone amiss is initiative and referendum, where people can put issues on the ballot to make reforms, to decide important issues. And so we work around the country at the state and local level to protect that process where it exists in 26 states, either have initiative or referendum. Most states have initiative and referendum at the local level, and we work to protect that and to expand it to the states or the cities and counties that don't have a way for citizens to directly represent themselves. In America, we believe that the people should rule within constitutional limits, of course. Well, within those limits, it seems to me that we have legislatures to represent us, but when they don't do that, either by not passing needed reforms or by passing things that we don't like, we ought to have the ability through direct democracy to put an issue on the ballot, to put a law that the legislature has passed up for a vote. And yet we spend a lot of time battling in legislatures to protect this process because they are out to do everything they can to make it tougher to use. And that's natural because legislators, unfortunately, like most of us, follow their own self-interest, and certainly they have an interest in the monopoly that legislatures have in passing laws. If citizens can check them, that's great for democracy. That's great for having a government that has the support of the people, but it doesn't make an individual legislator any more powerful. It makes them less powerful because they have to listen to us. We like it that way. They don't always like it that way so much. So Citizens in Charge, we work to lobby in legislatures and city councils to protect the process, to expand the process. We also put measures on the ballot. In Washington State this November, voters will get a chance to decide on Initiative 517, which does a number of very positive things for the initiative process. It protects petitioners, people who are out circulating petitions and people who are signing them from harassment. There have been a number of incidents, and this makes it against the law, a misdemeanor, for someone to harass or intimidate, threaten, hit, kick, do anything that would be violent and intimidating to someone who's trying to sign a petition or someone who's circulating a petition. And it also allows, and I think this is probably the most important reform we could have, it allows citizens more time to gather petition signatures. And the reason that is so important is because the shorter the window of time, the more apt you are to have to hire people to get it all done in time. And so it does mean that it's more expensive to qualify an issue, an idea for the ballot in a state in which you have a very narrow window to collect the signatures. In Washington State, it would go from 6 months to a year. And that, we think, will have a very positive impact for especially grassroots organizations that may not have the money to hire petition circulators. The measure also requires that when citizens collect enough signatures to put an issue on the ballot, that it does get voted on, that they can't go to court and block a vote. If there is any part of the measure that's unconstitutional, obviously that will be litigated, but the people get a chance to vote. And the reason that's so important is because oftentimes, whether you pass the law or didn't pass the law, if you can get a vote and get the folks who are running the government, the city council, the state legislature, to consider how the people actually feel at the ballot box, it has a powerful effect. So there have been a number of local initiatives in Washington State that even after they've been struck down, because they were voted on, the city council changed course. There have been other cities where they blocked the vote, and because there's been no vote, the city council has refused to change course. So that's the sort of thing that we think will make the process in Washington State, which is already a good process, much, much better, by giving people more time, allowing more grassroots activity, by protecting people who are in the process and actively petitioning their government, and by giving people a vote and letting the power of democracy provide a way to have the citizens of any given city weigh in a meaningful way. So anyway, that's what we do, and it's a battle across the country in legislatures, but the people in every single state, and we have polled in every single state, the people support this process by 2 to 1, 3 to 1, in some states as much as 7 to 1. And the support for this process happens to be much higher in states that have the process. So it's the kind of thing that the more people are familiar with initiative and referendum, the more they like it.
I got interested in ballot access way back in the middle 1960s. I was in political science at UC Berkeley, and I wanted to study who votes for minor parties. I wanted to do precinct analysis. But I was very irritated and frustrated that there were no minor parties in the ballot in California where I lived. And I couldn't figure out why. And so I started paying attention to the ballot access laws. And that's when I realized my state had a very, very bad, tough law. And that's why there were no minor parties in the ballot. So I found them so fascinating, I never stopped being interested.
Yeah, it seems like I think it's the longest running news of ballot access in the country right now.
I suppose it is.
That's great.
This year we've had a very bad bill passed in Idaho to restrict the initiative, and that was supported by the Republican majority. In Arkansas, there's a Republican majority, and Republicans have backed a bill to make it harder to get initiatives on the ballot. Republicans are the majority in Ohio, and they've just passed a bill making it harder for initiatives to get on the ballot. And yet in California, where Democrats are in the majority, they're the party that's trying to make it harder to get initiatives on the ballot, and the Republicans are fighting that. Free and Equal is trying to get enough donations and enough support to have the money to get initiatives on the ballot, and so I'm happy to recommend Free and Equal.
This is the website for Free and Equal. Free and Equal is an organization dedicated to providing the public service of organizing people for grassroots candidates. And candidates are put on the ballot through the same method that recalls, initiative, and referendum are put on the ballot, by a signature drive. And what we want is for volunteers to step up and support grassroots candidates and recalls to ensure that we have choices for better candidates year after year.